You know that moment when you've had enough? When every ounce of patience has evaporated and you're done pretending to smile? That's where Maya Rodriguez found herself at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, staring at the man in table 7 who'd just snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog. Snapped. His fingers. "Excuse me," Maya said, her voice dangerously calm. "Did you just snap your fingers at me?" The man looked up from his phone, barely registering her existence. He was handsome in that polished, expensive way that screamed old money and zero empathy. Dark hair styled perfectly, suit that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent, and eyes that had clearly never been told no in their entire privileged life. "I need another scotch." "The Macallan 25. And make it quick." "I have a call in 10 minutes. He said it without looking at her, already back on his phone. Maya felt something snap inside her chest. Not the finger-snapping kind. The "I'm done with this shit" kind. "I'm not a dog," she said quietly. That got his attention. His head lifted, those cold gray eyes finally focusing on her with what looked like genuine surprise. "What?" I said. "I'm not a dog. You don't snap your fingers at me. You don't order me around like I'm some kind of servant. And you definitely don't treat me like I'm invisible until you need something." Maya's hand tightened on her order pad. "If you want another drink, you ask politely." Like a human being talking to another human being. The restaurant had gone quiet. Maya could feel every eye in the place on them, including her manager Luis hovering nervously by the kitchen pass. She was about to get fired. She knew it. But looking at this arrogant jackass in his expensive suit, Maya discovered she didn't care. The man set down his phone slowly, giving Maya his full attention for the first time. "Are you seriously lecturing me on manners?" "I'm educating you on basic human decency." "There's a difference," his eyebrow raised. "And if I don't want to be educated, then you can get your own damn scotch." Maya turned to walk away. "Wait." The word was sharp, commanding. Maya almost kept walking on principle, but something in his tone made her pause. When she looked back, the man was standing, and up close he was even more intimidating. Tall, broad-shouldered, radiating the kind of power that came from never being questioned. "What's your name?" he asked. "Why? So you can complain to my manager and get me fired?" Maya crossed her arms. "Maya Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Tell Luis I was insubordinate and disrespectful. I'm sure he'll agree with you." Actually, I was going to apologize. That stopped Maya cold. "What?" "You're right. I was rude. I do treat service staff like they're invisible, and I just snapped my fingers at you like you were my personal servant." He extended his hand. "I'm Dominic Kane, and I'm sorry." Maya stared at his hand like it might bite her. Dominic Kane. The name was vaguely familiar, probably from some business article she'd skimmed. "You're apologizing?" "Don't sound so shocked. Even assholes can recognize when they've crossed a line." His hand stayed extended, though most people don't have the spine to call me out on it. "So thank you for that." Against her better judgment, Maya shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and she felt an unexpected jolt that had nothing to do with static electricity. "You're welcome. I think. Now about that scotch." Dominic's smile was slight but genuine. "Could I please have another Macallan 25? "When you have a moment." "No rush. I'll bring it right over." Maya pulled her hand back, very aware that the entire restaurant was still watching them. "Anything else?" "Your break schedule." Maya blinked. "My what?" "When do you get off work? I'd like to buy you a coffee." "Apologize properly for being an entitled ass. I don't accept apology coffee from customers." "Why not?" "Because usually when rich men want to buy me coffee, they're not actually apologizing. They're trying to sleep with me or manipulate me into something." Maya kept her voice level. "And I'm not interested in either." Dominic had the decency to look embarrassed. "Fair enough. But what if I genuinely just want to apologize and maybe understand why you're the first person in 5 years to tell me I'm being rude? Then you need better friends and worse publicists." He laughed, surprised and genuine. "You're remarkable. I'm exhausted and underpaid." "There's a difference." Maya turned toward the bar. "I'll get your scotch." "Maya." Something in the way he said her name made her pause. "I meant what I said. You're the first person in a very long time to treat me like I'm human instead of an ATM or a business opportunity. That's rare, valuable, good for you. Your scotch will be ready in 3 minutes." As Maya walked away, she could feel Dominic's eyes following her. Luis intercepted her at the bar, his expression torn between panic and admiration. Maya, do you have any idea who that man is? Dominic Kane. He introduced himself. Dominic Kane owns half the commercial real estate in this city. He's worth like $4 billion, and you just told him off in the middle of a crowded restaurant. Luis's voice dropped to a whisper. He could destroy this place with one phone call. Then he can destroy it. I'm not apologizing for expecting basic respect. Maya grabbed the bottle of Macallan, pouring a generous measure. Luis, I've been working here for 3 years. In that time, I've dealt with customers who've grabbed my ass, snapped their fingers, talked down to me like I'm stupid, and treated me like furniture. I'm done. If expecting to be treated like a human being gets me fired, then I don't want to work here anymore. I'm not firing you. Luis squeezed her shoulder. You're the best waitress we have, and you were right to call him out. I'm just worried he'll make trouble. Let him. I'm not afraid of billionaires with attitude problems. But watching Dominic from across the restaurant, Maya felt something that might have been unease. He was watching her too, with an intensity that suggested wheels turning behind those cold gray eyes. Men like Dominic Kane didn't just accept being told off. They responded, and usually not in ways that were pleasant for the people who'd challenged them. The rest of her shift passed without incident. Dominic finished his scotch, paid his bill, and left a 30% tip along with a business card that Maya immediately threw in the trash. She didn't need coffee with entitled billionaires who thought they could buy forgiveness with expensive scotch and fake humility. At midnight, Maya hung up her apron and headed home to the small apartment she shared with her mother in Queens. The subway was nearly empty, just her and a few other night shift workers too tired to do anything but stare at their phones. Her mother was asleep when Maya got home, which was good. Rosa Rodriguez worried enough without knowing her daughter had just told off a billionaire. Maya collapsed into bed without bothering to change. Exhaustion pulling her under immediately. She dreamed about gray eyes and dangerous smiles, about men who could buy anything they wanted except basic human decency, about standing her ground and wondering if that spine she was so proud of was about to cost her everything. The next morning arrived too early. Maya dragged herself through her routine, downed enough coffee to jumpstart her heart, and headed to the restaurant for the lunch shift. Luis was already there, pacing near the entrance with an expression that made Maya's stomach drop. What's wrong? You need to see this. Luis handed her his phone, pulled up to a news article. This went live an hour ago. Maya read the headline and felt the world tilt. Kane Industries acquires the Harbor Bistro in record overnight deal. He bought the restaurant, Luis said unnecessarily. Dominic Kane bought the entire restaurant. Last night, after you told him off, the sale finalized at 2 a.m. Maya stared at the article, her hand starting to shake. Dominic Kane had bought her workplace in less than 12 hours because she'd refused to serve him like he was royalty. He's coming in this morning, Luis continued. 10 a.m. Wants to meet with all staff to discuss the transition. Maya, I don't know what his plan is, but he's going to fire me. The words came out flat. He bought the entire restaurant just to fire me. You don't know that. Luis, I embarrassed him in front of a room full of people. I threw his business card in the trash. I told him I wasn't interested in his apology coffee. Men like Dominic Kane don't just let that slide. They respond, and apparently his response is to buy my entire workplace. The Harbor Bistro had been struggling for years. The owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Chen, had been trying to sell for months with no buyers. Until Dominic Kane had apparently decided that firing one insubordinate waitress was worth acquiring a failing restaurant. What are you going to do? Luis asked. Maya thought about her mother's medical bills, about the rent due next week, about the pride that had gotten her into this mess. Then she thought about Dominic Kane snapping his fingers at her like she was nothing. I'm going to face him, she said, and if he fires me, fine. But I'm not going to grovel or apologize for expecting to be treated with basic respect. If that makes me unemployable, then so be it. At exactly 10 a.m., Dominic Kane walked through the door of the Harbor Bistro like he owned the place, which technically he now did. He wore another expensive suit, this one charcoal gray that matched his eyes, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who'd never failed at anything in his entire life. The staff had gathered in the main dining room, about 15 people ranging from Luis to the dishwashers. Everyone looked nervous except Maya, who stood with her arms crossed and her spine straight, meeting Dominic's gaze directly when he entered. His eyes found her immediately. Something flickered in his expression. Satisfaction. Challenge? Maya couldn't read it. Good morning, Dominic said, his voice carrying easily through the space. As you've probably heard, I acquired this restaurant last night. I want to assure everyone that your jobs are safe. I'm not here to gut the staff or make massive changes. The Harbor Bistro has a good reputation and loyal customers. I plan to invest in upgrades and expand the business, but the core team stays. Relief rippled through the room. People exchanged glances, shoulders relaxing. Everyone except Maya, who knew this speech was too good to be true. However, Dominic continued, his gaze still locked on Maya. I do need to make one staffing change. Effective immediately. Here it comes, Maya thought. The petty revenge disguised as business necessity. I'm promoting Maya Rodriguez to general manager. The silence was deafening. Maya felt like she'd been slapped. What? You heard me. General manager. Oversight of all operations, hiring, training, customer relations. Full benefits, salary of $80,000 a year. You start Monday. Maya's brain short-circuited. You're promoting me? You demonstrated excellent judgment last night. Called out unacceptable behavior. Showed backbone and integrity. Those are exactly the qualities I need in someone running my restaurant. Dominic's smile was dangerous. Unless you're refusing the position. I'd hate to think you only have spine when it comes to telling people off, not when it comes to accepting opportunities. The trap was obvious. If Maya refused, she looked like a hypocrite. If she accepted, she'd be working directly under Dominic Kane, probably exactly what he wanted. Either way, he won. Can I think about it? Maya asked. No, I need an answer now. Take the job or don't, but decide. Every eye in the room was on her. Luis looked hopeful. The other staff looked excited at the prospect of having Maya as their manager. And Dominic looked like a cat who just cornered a mouse and was enjoying watching it decide whether to run or fight. Maya thought about her mother's medical bills, about the rent, about the fact that $80,000 a year was more than she'd made in the past 2 years combined, about how much she hated being manipulated. I'll take the job, she said, on one condition. Dominic's eyebrow rose. You're in no position to make conditions. Sure I am. You need a manager. I need a job that pays enough to live on. We both have something the other wants. So here's my condition. You treat me like an actual manager with actual authority, not like some employee you're controlling or testing. I make decisions, you respect them. I run this restaurant, you don't micromanage. Deal or no deal, the room held its collective breath. Maya could see Luis mentally writing her termination paperwork. But Dominic's expression shifted into something that looked like respect. Deal, he said. But I have a condition too. You report directly to me. Weekly meetings. Full transparency about operations. And if you screw up, I fire you without hesitation. Agreed? Agreed. Maya extended her hand. Nice doing business with you, Mr. Kane. Dominic. If we're working together, use my first name. His handshake was firm, deliberate. Welcome to Kane Industries, Maya. Try not to tell me off in the first week. No promises, Maya replied, and was rewarded with another one of those dangerous smiles that suggested she'd just walked into something far more complicated than a simple job. Promotion. The first week as general manager of the Harbor Bistro taught Maya 3 important lessons. 1. Dominic Kane was everywhere. 2. Running a restaurant was significantly harder than serving in one. 3. She'd vastly underestimated how much Dominic enjoyed watching her struggle. The produce order is wrong again, Maya told Luis on Thursday afternoon, staring at crates of vegetables that were supposed to be organic but clearly weren't. That's the 3rd time this month our supplier has screwed us. Take it up with Dominic. He handles all vendor contracts now. Of course he did. Maya pulled out her phone, texting the number Dominic had given her for emergencies only. She suspected he had a very different definition of emergency than she did. Produce supplier sent wrong order again. Need to switch vendors. His response came within seconds. My office. 6 p.m. Bring documentation. Maya stared at the text. Dominic's office was in the Kane Industries building downtown, a glass tower that screamed power and money. She'd been avoiding going there, conducting their required weekly meetings at the restaurant instead. But apparently that grace period was over. At 5:45 p.m., Maya stood in the lobby of Kane Tower, feeling catastrophically out of place in her manager's uniform and sensible shoes. Everyone else wore designer suits and confidence like armor. The receptionist looked at her like she'd wandered in from another dimension. Maya Rodriguez for Dominic Kane, she said, trying to sound like she belonged. 42nd floor. He's expecting you. The receptionist's tone suggested this was unusual and possibly scandalous. The elevator ride gave Maya too much time to think about how Dominic had been true to his word about not micromanaging, about how their weekly meetings had been surprisingly professional, about how she definitely wasn't noticing how good he looked in those expensive suits, or how his rare smiles transformed his entire face. The 42nd floor was all glass and steel, minimalist to the point of being aggressive about it. Dominic's assistant, a severe woman named Patricia, directed Maya to the corner office without comment. Dominic was on the phone when Maya entered, gesturing for her to sit. His office was exactly what she expected. Massive windows overlooking the city, furniture that cost more than cars, and absolutely nothing personal anywhere. No photos, no mementos, just expensive emptiness. He finished his call and turned his attention to her. "Show me the documentation." Maya handed over the folder she'd prepared. Invoices, photos of the wrong produce, email chains with the supplier making excuses. She'd learned quickly that Dominic respected thoroughness. He reviewed everything in silence, his expression unreadable. "Finally, you're right. They've been taking advantage. I'll terminate the contract and find a new supplier." "I already found one. Local farm cooperative. Better prices, actual organic certification, delivery schedule that works with our needs." Maya pulled out another folder. "I took the liberty of getting quotes." Dominic looked at her with something that might have been approval. "You're good at this. I told you I was qualified. Most people who tell me they're qualified aren't. You actually are." He set down the folders. "The restaurant's numbers are up 15% since you took over. Customer complaints down, staff retention perfect, food costs optimized. You're exceeding expectations. Is there a but coming? Because it feels like there's a but coming, but you're working yourself to death. 70-hour weeks, no days off. You're going to burn out." Dominic leaned back in his chair. "I need you to hire an assistant manager. Someone to share the load. We can afford whatever I say we can afford. This isn't a negotiation, Maya. Hire help or I'll hire it for you." "Your choice," Maya wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him she didn't need help, that she could handle everything. But looking at Dominic's expression, she recognized immovable object when she saw it. "Fine, I'll hire an assistant. But I choose who, of course. It's your restaurant to run. I'm just the owner who signs the checks." His smile was slight. "Dinner?" Maya blinked. "What? Have you eaten?" "It's almost 7. There's an excellent sushi place downstairs. We could discuss your expansion ideas while we eat." "My expansion ideas?" "You've been making notes. I've seen them. Ideas for a weekend brunch service, craft cocktail program, possible catering arm. Don't look so surprised. I pay attention to everything in my businesses. Those were just random thoughts, not actual proposals. They were good thoughts. Well-reasoned, financially sound. I want to hear more." Dominic stood, grabbing his jacket. "Come on, the sushi place has excellent sake and I'm buying. Consider it a working dinner. I'm not dressed for..." "You're fine. It's casual." When Maya hesitated, Dominic's expression softened slightly. "Maya, I'm not trying to manipulate you or cross lines. I genuinely want to discuss business over food because I'm starving and talking while eating is efficient. Nothing more." Against her better judgment, Maya followed him. The sushi restaurant was upscale but not pretentious, tucked into the ground floor of the cane tower with minimalist decor and a sushi chef who greeted Dominic by name. They were seated at the bar, close enough that Maya could smell Dominic's cologne, something expensive and subtle. "The omakase," Dominic told the chef. "And sake pairing, Maya?" "I'll follow your lead." She'd never been to a place nice enough for omakase. As plates of pristine sushi began arriving, Dominic pulled out his phone, opening notes. "Tell me about the brunch service idea. Why weekends? Why brunch specifically?" Maya gathered her thoughts, trying to ignore how surreal this was. A week ago, she'd been a waitress. Now she was having a business dinner with a billionaire who actually seemed interested in her ideas. The restaurant's dead until dinner service on weekends. "We're paying rent and utilities for space that sits empty. Brunch is high margin, lower labor costs than dinner, and there's huge demand in the neighborhood. Young professionals, families, tourists. I ran the numbers. We could be profitable within 3 months. Show me the numbers." Maya pulled out her phone, opening the spreadsheet she'd built. Dominic studied it, asking sharp questions about costs and projections. He was good at this, she realized. Not just rich, but actually intelligent about business. Your food cost projections are too conservative, he said finally. You can negotiate better prices with volume, and you're underestimating beverage revenue. Bottomless mimosas are a gold mine if done right. I've never run a brunch service. I was being cautious. Caution is smart, but don't undersell yourself. Dominic set down his phone. I'm approving the brunch program. Full budget for marketing, new hires, menu development. You launch in 6 weeks. Can you do that? Maya's heart raced. Yes. But Dominic, that's a massive investment. What if I fail? Then you fail and we adjust. That's how business works. You try things, see what sticks, iterate. I didn't build Kane Industries by being afraid to take chances. He picked up his sake. I believe in you, Maya. Question is, do you believe in yourself? She stared at him. In the month since he'd bought the restaurant, Dominic had been demanding but fair. Challenging but never undermining. He gave her authority and backed her decisions. It was more trust than Maya had gotten from any employer ever. I believe I can do this, she said quietly. Good. Then stop second-guessing yourself. Dominic's gaze was intense. Maya, you're talented. Brilliant, actually. You see opportunities others miss. The only thing holding you back is your own doubt. Easy to be confident when you have billions backing you up. I didn't always have billions. I built my first company with a maxed-out credit card and insane amounts of determination. Failed twice before anything succeeded. Confidence isn't about having resources. It's about trusting yourself enough to risk failure. Maya studied his face, seeing something vulnerable beneath the polished exterior. What made you so driven? Besides the obvious money motivation. Dominic was quiet for a moment, swirling his sake. My father, he was controlling, abusive in ways that didn't leave physical marks. Made me feel powerless my entire childhood, so I decided I'd never be powerless again. I'd have enough money and influence that no one could control me. The honesty shocked her. I'm sorry. That must have been terrible. It taught me that power matters, that being weak means being vulnerable. That controlling your environment is the only way to stay safe. He met her eyes. Which is why what you did that first night was so significant. You were powerless in that situation. I held all the cards, but you stood up to me anyway. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done. Or it takes being too tired to care about consequences. Don't diminish it. You saw wrong and called it out. Most people don't. They smile and take the abuse because it's easier. Dominic's voice was soft. You made me see myself clearly for the first time in years. Made me realize I'd become the kind of man I used to hate. That's not something I take lightly. Maya felt something shift between them. This wasn't her boss talking. This was Dominic, the person behind the money and power. Damaged, driven, trying to be better. So buying my workplace was what? Atonement? She asked. Buying your workplace was impulsive and probably insane. I was angry that someone had called me out. Then I was impressed. Then I realized I wanted to know you better, and the only way I could think to do that was to create circumstances where you'd have to interact with me. That's kind of manipulative. Extremely manipulative. Also effective. We're having dinner, aren't we? Maya couldn't help smiling. This is not a date. This is a working dinner, is it? Because from where I'm sitting, we stopped talking about business 10 minutes ago and started talking about personal things. That feels more like a date than a meeting, Dominic. Maya's voice was careful. You're my boss. This can't be anything other than professional? Why not? You're technically a manager in one of my companies. We're not direct supervisor and subordinate. No HR violations. Because you bought my workplace to get close to me. That's not a healthy foundation for anything. That's control and manipulation dressed up as opportunity. Dominic flinched like she'd slapped him. You're right. That's exactly what it is. He signaled for the check. I apologize. Again, I keep trying to be better and keep defaulting to controlling situations. It's a work in progress. Maya felt bad for being so blunt. I didn't mean, you meant exactly what you said. And you were right to say it. Dominic stood, pulling out his wallet. Let me drive you home. It's late. I can take the subway. Maya, please. Let me do one decent thing tonight without arguing. The drive to Queens was quiet. Dominic's car was exactly what Maya expected. Expensive, leather interior, driver who said nothing. She gave the address and tried not to think about how her tiny apartment building would look through billionaire eyes. When they pulled up, Dominic got out to open her door. Thank you for dinner. And for being honest even when it's uncomfortable. Thank you for listening. Maya hesitated. Dominic, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're someone who learned bad patterns and is trying to unlearn them. That's actually admirable. But not enough to consider me date-worthy. But not enough to risk my job and financial stability on something that might blow up spectacularly. She smiled sadly. I like you. More than I should, probably. But I can't afford complications. Understood. Dominic stepped back. See you at next week's meeting. We'll keep it strictly professional. Maya watched him drive away and wondered if she'd just made a smart decision or the biggest mistake of her life. Professional lasted exactly 2 weeks. Then Vanessa Whitmore walked into the Harbor Bistro during lunch service, and everything Maya had been carefully maintaining fell apart. Table for one, the woman announced, her voice carrying the kind of authority that made people jump. She was stunning in that effortless old money way. Blonde hair perfectly styled, designer dress that probably cost more than Maya's car, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Maya seated her personally, something pricking at the back of her mind. Can I get you started with something to drink? Champagne. The Veuve Clicquot. And tell Dominic that Vanessa's here. He'll want to know. Maya's stomach dropped. You know Mr. Kane. Know him? Vanessa's laugh was musical and cruel. Darling, I was engaged to him 3 years before he decided building his empire was more important than building a life with me. I'm sure he's mentioned me. He hadn't. Not once in the 6 weeks Maya had been working for him. I'll let him know you're here. Oh, don't bother. I'm sure he's monitoring this place anyway. Control freak that he is. Vanessa's eyes assessed Maya with uncomfortable accuracy. You're the manager he hired. The waitress who told him off. How deliciously ironic. I'm sorry. Dominic bought this place because of you. Surely you realize that. The man doesn't make impulsive business decisions unless there's an emotional component. He wanted you in his orbit, so he created circumstances to make that happen. It's what he does. Control situations until they give him what he wants. Maya's hands tightened on the menu. I should get your champagne. He's doing it to you too, isn't he? The intense focus, the opportunities, making you feel special and seen. It's intoxicating until you realize it's not love, it's possession. He doesn't want a partner. He wants something he can control and display like a trophy. Mr. Kane and I have a professional relationship. Nothing more, for now. But he's working on it, isn't he? Testing boundaries, creating intimacy through business decisions, making you financially dependent while pretending it's empowerment. Vanessa leaned forward. I'm not trying to be cruel, darling. I'm trying to save you from making my mistake. Dominic Kane destroys everyone who gets close to him. Not intentionally, but his need to control everything means eventually you'll suffocate. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to defend Dominic, but Vanessa's words echoed too closely with her own fears. I'll get your champagne. She was pouring the Veuve Clicquot when Dominic appeared at the bar, his expression thunderous. Why is Vanessa here? She asked for a table. I seated her. Was I supposed to refuse service? Yes, no, I don't know. Dominic ran a hand through his hair, destroying its perfect styling. What did she say to you? Nothing important. Maya, what did she say? That you have control issues. That you destroy relationships. That buying this restaurant was about manipulating me into your orbit. Maya met his eyes. She's wrong, right? You didn't buy this place just to control me. Dominic's silence was damning. Oh my God. Maya felt sick. She's right. You really did buy an entire restaurant just to, what? Keep me close? Control the circumstances of our interactions? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like Vanessa described. You couldn't handle that I walked away from you, so you made it impossible for me to walk away by becoming my employer. I gave you an opportunity. You gave me a golden cage. Maya's voice shook. $80,000 a year, authority over the restaurant, trust and responsibility. All of it designed to make me dependent on you, to make leaving impossible. That's not... Dominic stopped, his jaw clenching. Maybe it started that way. Maybe I did buy this place because I couldn't stop thinking about you and didn't know how else to get close to you. But Maya, what you've built here is real. Your success is real. I'm not controlling that. You are. But you created the circumstances. You hold all the power. If you get bored or angry or decide I'm not worth the investment, I lose everything. Maya felt tears threatening. I let myself depend on you. That was stupid. Don't. Dominic stepped closer. Don't diminish what you've accomplished because of how it started. Yes, I bought this restaurant for the wrong reasons, but you've turned it into something successful completely on your own merit. How can I trust anything when the foundation is manipulation? Because I'm telling you the truth now. I'm not hiding behind excuses or pretty lies. I'm admitting I did something controlling and wrong because I didn't know how else to be close to you. His voice dropped. Maya, I'm damaged. I know that. I default to control because it's the only way I learn to feel safe. But I'm trying to be different. You make me want to be different. That's not enough. Maya pulled off her manager badge, setting it on the bar. I can't work for you anymore. Not knowing how this started. Not knowing that every opportunity is potentially just another way to control me. You're quitting? I'm protecting myself. Like I should have done 6 weeks ago. Dominic looked like she'd stabbed him. Maya, please. Don't let Vanessa destroy this. She's trying to manipulate you against me. Is she lying? Did you or did you not buy this restaurant specifically to keep me in your life? His silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. Maya grabbed her coat. Luis can handle the rest of the shift. I'll come back for my things when you're not here. She was halfway to the door when Vanessa's voice stopped her. Well done, darling. I knew you were smart enough to see through him. Maya turned, and something in her expression made Vanessa's smile falter. You're wrong about one thing. Dominic's not the villain in this story. You are. Coming here, poisoning me against him, pretending you care about protecting me when really you're just bitter he chose his career over you. That's pathetic. Excuse me? You heard me. Everything you said about Dominic might be true. He might be controlling and damaged and terrible at relationships, but at least he's trying to be better. You're just trying to destroy what he's building because you can't handle that he didn't choose you. Maya stepped closer. So congratulations. You succeeded. I'm leaving. You win. But you're still alone and bitter, and he'll find someone else eventually. Someone who actually helps him be better instead of weaponizing his damage. Maya walked out before Vanessa could respond. Before Dominic could stop her. Before she could change her mind and do something stupid like stay. The subway ride to Queens gave her too much time to think. About Dominic's face when she'd quit. About Vanessa's satisfied smile. About the $80,000 a year she'd just walked away from. About her mother's face when Maya told her they couldn't afford the nicer assisted living facility after all. Her phone buzzed continuously. Text from Dominic. Please come back. We can talk about this. I'll fix it. I'll do whatever you need. Just please don't leave like this. Maya turned off her phone. At home, her mother took one look at her face and pulled her into a hug. What happened, Mia? Maya told her everything. The first night with Dominic, the restaurant purchase, the promotion, Vanessa's revelations. Her mother listened without interrupting, her expression growing more thoughtful. So let me understand, Rosa said finally. This man saw you stand up to him, was so impressed that he bought your workplace, gave you an opportunity to advance your career, supported your ideas, and paid you well. And you're angry because his motivations weren't pure? He manipulated me, Mama. He bought an entire restaurant to control the circumstances of our relationship. Or, he bought a restaurant because he's, terrible at expressing feelings like most men and thought. Money could solve problems. Rosa squeezed her hand. Maya, I'm not saying what he did was right. It was controlling and strange. But men with damage do strange things when they're trying to connect with someone. The question isn't whether his methods were perfect. It's whether his intentions are good. How can I trust his intentions when everything is built on manipulation? You can't. That's what faith is. Taking a risk on someone despite not having guarantees. Her mother's eyes were gentle. You like him. I can see it. And he clearly likes you enough to do insane things to be near you. That's not nothing. It's not enough either. Then what is enough? What would make you feel safe with him? Maya didn't have an answer. That night she lay awake thinking about Dominic. About his admission that he'd learned control as survival. About his damaged childhood and his drive to never be powerless again. About how he'd trusted her enough to show vulnerability, even knowing she might use it against him. Her phone, turned back on out of habit, showed 17 missed calls and a final text from Dominic. I'm not giving up on you. On us. I'll prove I can be better than my worst impulses, however long it takes. Maya stared at the message until her vision blurred. Then she did something either very brave or very stupid. She called him. He answered on the first ring. Maya, I have conditions, she said without preamble. If I come back, things change. Real changes, not just promises. Name them. Anything. First, you sell the restaurant back to Mrs. Chen, or to me, or to someone else. But you don't own my workplace anymore. No more control over my livelihood. Done. I'll have papers drawn up tomorrow. Second, we see a therapist. Together. You need to work through your control issues, and I need to work through my trust issues, and we both need someone objective helping us figure out if this is real or just trauma bonding. Agreed. I'll find someone. The best. Third, you tell me everything. The real reasons behind every decision. No more surprises. No more finding out 6 weeks later that something major was actually manipulation disguised as opportunity. Complete transparency. I promise. His voice was rough with emotion. Maya, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I screwed this up spectacularly, but I swear to you, I'm going to earn your trust. However long it takes. You're starting from negative trust at this point. Then I'll work twice as hard. I'll prove I can be the man you thought I could be instead of the one Vanessa warned you about. Maya took a breath. I'm terrified this is a mistake. Me too. But I'd rather make mistakes with you than play it safe without you. That's manipulative wording designed to make me feel special. It's also true. Both things can exist simultaneously. Dominic's laugh was shaky. Maya, I'm going to mess up again. My default settings are terrible, but I promise I'll keep trying to be better. Keep letting you call me out when I slip. Keep working toward being someone worthy of you. Don't put me on a pedestal. That's just another form of control. Fair. How about this? I'll work toward being someone worthy of myself. Someone I can respect. And hopefully that person is also someone you can love. That's better. Maya felt herself softening despite every logical reason not to. Dominic, I do like you. More than I should. But I need you to understand that liking someone isn't enough. I need to trust you. And that's going to take time. However long you need. I'm not going anywhere. We're starting over. Professional boundaries. Separate workplace. Therapy before anything romantic. Agreed? Agreed. Though I'm keeping my weekly meeting with you. As friends, not as employer-employee. I like arguing with you too much to give that up entirely. Despite everything, Maya smiled. You're ridiculous. I'm in love with you. There's a difference. Maya's breath caught. You can't just say that. Why not? It's true. I've been in love with you since you walked away from my apology coffee and told me rich men usually had ulterior motives. You were right, by the way. I did have ulterior motives. They've just evolved into wanting to actually deserve you instead of just possessing you. Dominic, you don't have to say it back. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you the truth like you asked. Complete transparency, remember? His voice softened. Come back, Maya. Let me prove I can be better. Let us figure out if this broken disaster of a beginning can turn into something real. Maya thought about Vanessa's warnings, about the risks, about all the very good reasons to walk away and stay away. Then she thought about Dominic admitting his damage, volunteering for therapy, offering to give up control of her workplace. Okay, she whispered. But I'm watching you. One sign you're slipping back into control games, I'm gone. For real this time. Understood. I'll be on my best behavior. Your best behavior is still probably manipulative. But maybe slightly less manipulative is a good starting point. I'll take what I can get. The relief in his voice was palpable. Thank you for giving me another chance. I won't waste it. After they hung up, Maya lay in the dark and wondered if she'd just made the smartest decision of her life or signed up for beautiful heartbreak. Only time would tell. But for now, she was choosing to have faith that broken people could build something beautiful together if they were both willing to do the work. Even if that work was terrifying. Dr. Sarah. Chen's office was nothing like Maya expected. No leather couch, no judgmental notepad. Just comfortable chairs arranged in a circle, and a woman who looked more like someone's cool aunt than a therapist specializing in relationship dynamics and control issues. So, Dr. Chen said, settling into her chair with casual grace, Dominic tells me he bought your workplace to manipulate you into his orbit. Maya tells me she quit and is only here because she has conditions. This should be interesting. Dominic shifted uncomfortably beside Maya. They'd maintained careful distance on the couch, not touching, barely looking at each other. 2 weeks since Maya had agreed to try again, and they'd seen each other exactly twice. Both times painfully professional, both times charged with everything they weren't saying. I didn't manipulate. Dominic started. I mean, I did, but not maliciously. I was trying to control the situation so you felt safe, Dr. Chen finished. Yes, I read your intake forms. Very thorough, by the way. Most people don't admit to being controlling manipulators right out of the gate. I'm trying to be honest. Good. Honesty is where we start. Dr. Chen turned to Maya. And you? You walked away from $80,000 and a career opportunity because you felt manipulated. That takes either impressive principles or significant trust issues. Which is it? Both, Maya admitted. My father left when I was 8. Promised he'd come back. Never did. I learned early that people who say they care about you will still leave when it's convenient. So when Dominic showed controlling behavior, you saw abandonment waiting to happen. I saw someone who'd built my entire career as a way to keep me accessible. What happens when he gets bored? When I'm not interesting anymore? I lose everything because I let myself depend on someone. Dr. Chen nodded. And Dominic, when Maya walked away, how did that make you feel? Terrified, angry, desperate. Dominic's jaw tightened. Like I was losing control of the situation, which meant I was losing her. My instinct was to fix it by throwing more money or opportunities at the problem. Did you? No. I called 17 times and sent one text. Then I waited for her to come back on her terms. That must have been difficult for you. Waiting. Not controlling the outcome. It was hell. Dominic looked at Maya, for the first time since they'd sat down. But she was right. I needed to prove I could give her space instead of smothering her with solutions. Dr. Chen leaned back. Here's what I'm seeing. Dominic learned that control equals safety. Maya learned that dependence equals abandonment. Those two belief systems are fundamentally incompatible unless you both actively work against your instincts. So this is hopeless, Maya said flatly. I didn't say that. I said it requires work. Conscious, deliberate, uncomfortable work. Dr. Chen pulled out a notepad. Dominic, your homework is to identify 3 situations this week where your instinct is to control or fix something for Maya. Instead of acting on that instinct, you're going to tell her about the instinct and ask her what she wants. That sounds horrible. It should be. Growth is uncomfortable. Maya, your homework is to identify 3 situations where you assume Dominic's actions have ulterior motives. Before you react, you're going to ask him directly about his intentions. What if his intentions are controlling? Then you call him out and we discuss it next session. But you have to ask first. No assumptions. Dr. Chen looked between them. Here's the thing about relationships built on damage. They either become more damaged or they become something stronger than typical relationships because you've already seen each other's worst and chosen to stay. You two have a choice. Do the work or walk away. But half measures won't cut it. After the session, they stood outside Dr. Chen's office building, neither sure what came next. Coffee? Dominic offered. As friends, no ulterior motives. Just 2 people who survived their first therapy session. Maya studied his face, looking for manipulation. Saw only exhaustion and hope. Okay, but I'm buying. I don't want to owe you. That's a trust issue talking. That's me establishing boundaries. There's a difference. They found a coffee shop 2 blocks away, nothing fancy, just decent coffee and mismatched furniture. Dominic looked out of place in his expensive suit, but he didn't seem to notice. He was too busy watching Maya like she might disappear if he looked away. Stop staring, Maya said. Sorry, I'm just glad you're here, that you're giving this a chance. I'm giving us a chance to figure out if there's a this worth pursuing. That's different from committing to anything. Understood. Dominic wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. Can I ask you something? About your father, Maya tensed. What about him? You said he left when you were 8. Did he ever come back? Try to reconnect? Once when I was 16. Showed up with apologies and explanations about how life had been hard and he'd needed to find himself. Maya's voice was flat. He wanted to be part of my life again. Wanted me to understand that leaving wasn't about me. But it felt like it was about you. It felt like I wasn't important enough to stay for, like whatever he was looking for mattered more than his daughter. Maya met Dominic's eyes. That's why your control issues scare me. Not because I think you're malicious. Because I think eventually you'll decide I'm too complicated or too much work and you'll leave. And I'll be the idiot who let myself believe someone would actually stay. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. My father didn't leave. He stayed and made everyone miserable. Controlled every aspect of our lives because he was miserable and needed to make sure we were too. I used to wish he'd leave. Wish he'd care so little that he'd just go. But he didn't. No. He stayed until my mother finally got the courage to divorce him. I was 15. And instead of feeling relieved, I felt guilty. Like I should have protected her better. Should have been strong enough to stand up to him. You were a kid. That wasn't your job. I know that intellectually. But emotionally, I learned that I was powerless. That the only way to never feel that way again was to accumulate enough power and control that no one could hurt me. Dominic's hands tightened on his cup. Then you came along and made me feel powerless in a completely different way. I couldn't control whether you liked me. Couldn't buy or manipulate or force you to see me the way I wanted you to. So I did what I always do. I created circumstances where I'd have some control. By buying my workplace. By buying your workplace. Which was insane and controlling and probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. He smiled slightly. But it got you into my life. So I can't entirely regret it. That's still manipulative thinking. I know. I'm working on it. Dominic set down his cup. Maya, I need you to understand something. I'm going to mess up. My default settings are terrible. I'm going to do controlling things without realizing it. Say manipulative things that sound helpful. Assume I know what's best when I should be asking your opinion. That's not exactly selling me on this relationship. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to be honest about what you're getting into. I'm damaged in specific problematic ways. But I'm also committed to being better. To catching myself when I slip. To listening when you call me out. That has to be enough because it's all I can promise. Maya thought about Dr. Chen's words. About choosing to do the work or walking away. About how half measures wouldn't cut it. I'm damaged too. I assume the worst in people. I expect abandonment. I keep everyone at arm's length because it's safer than risking heartbreak. So we're both disasters. Completely. But maybe disasters can figure it out together if we're both honest about our damage. I'd like to try. Dominic reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. Not touching but offering. No control games, no manipulation. Just two broken people trying to build something healthy despite terrible foundation skills. Maya looked at his hand, thought about all the reasons to walk away. About her father's abandonment and Dominic's control issues and how this could all end in spectacular heartbreak. Then she thought about his vulnerability in therapy, his admission of damage, his willingness to be uncomfortable for the chance at something real. She took his hand. I'm terrified. Me too. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe and alone. You said that before. It's becoming your catchphrase. It's becoming my truth. Dominic squeezed her hand gently. Maya, I can't promise I won't hurt you. I can't promise I'll be perfect or even good at this. But I can promise I'll keep showing up. Keep trying. Keep choosing you even when it's hard. That's all anyone can promise, isn't it? To keep choosing each other. I think so. The rest is just details we figure out as we go. They sat in the coffee shop until closing, talking about everything and nothing. About Maya's dreams of finishing her law degree someday. About Dominic's plan to slowly transfer ownership of the Harbor Bistro to her, as she could afford to buy in. About therapy and damage and learning to trust, despite every reason not to. When they finally left, Dominic insisted on driving Maya home, despite her protests about taking the subway. They sat in his car outside her building, neither wanting the evening to end. Can I see you again? Dominic asked. Outside of therapy? As friends working toward maybe more? Yes, but I'm planning it. I choose where we go, what we do. You don't get to control the circumstances. Deal? Though I reserve the right to make suggestions. Suggestions are fine. Manipulation disguised as suggestions gets you cut off. Understood. Dominic leaned closer, then stopped himself. I want to kiss you, but I'm asking first instead of assuming. Is that okay? Maya's heart hammered. This was it, the moment where she either chose fear or chose risk. She looked at Dominic's face, seeing hope and vulnerability and genuine question. Not demand, not manipulation. Just honest desire with permission to refuse. Yes, she whispered. Dominic kissed her softly, carefully, like she was something precious. His hand cupped her face with surprising gentleness, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. It was nothing like Maya expected. No demands, no control, just genuine tenderness from someone who'd clearly been thinking about this moment for weeks. When they pulled apart, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the night you told me I was being rude. That's a weird thing to find attractive. You're a weird person to fall in love with. We're even, Maya laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. We're doing this, aren't we? Actually trying. Looks like it. Against all logic and common sense. Dr. Chen is going to have so much to work with. She's going to earn every penny. Dominic kissed her again. This time with more confidence, but still asking permission with every movement. I should let you go. Your mother is probably watching from the window. Maya glanced up and sure enough, Rosa was visible in the window, not even pretending to be subtle. Oh God, she's going to have so many questions. Tell her I'm your emotionally damaged boyfriend who's working very hard to be less of a disaster. Boyfriend? We're calling this boyfriend now. Would you prefer man I'm seeing who bought my workplace in an act of controlling manipulation but is now trying to be better? Because that's a mouthful. Boyfriend is fine. Probationary boyfriend. Subject to revocation if you slip back into control games. I'll take probationary. It's better than nothing. Dominic kissed her one more time, soft and sweet. Go, face your mother's interrogation. Text me when you survive so I know she didn't murder me by proxy. Maya got out of the car feeling lighter than she had in weeks. She waved as Dominic drove away, then turned to face her mother's inevitable questions. Whatever happened next, terrifying or beautiful or probably both, she was choosing to face it instead of running, and that felt like growth. 3 months into their probationary relationship, Maya learned that dating a reformed control freak was exhausting in ways she hadn't anticipated. Not because Dominic was controlling, he was actively fighting those instincts, but because watching someone battle their worst impulses in real time was emotionally draining. I want to buy you a car, Dominic said during their weekly therapy session. Your car is 15 years old and making concerning noises. But I know that sounds controlling, so I'm telling you the impulse instead of just doing it. Dr. Chen looked at Maya. How does that make you feel? Annoyed that he's right about my car. Grateful, he asked, instead of just showing up with keys. Worried that accepting means I'm becoming financially dependent. So what do you want to do? Maya turned to Dominic. I want to fix my car myself. But I appreciate you offering and not just ambushing me with a Tesla. See? Dominic gestured to Dr. Chen. This is growth. Old me would have bought the car and acted confused when she got angry. Old you wouldn't have made it past month 1, Maya pointed out. New you is annoying but trying. I'll take annoying but trying. Dr. Chen made notes. Dominic, how does it feel when Maya refuses your help? Like I'm failing at taking care of her. Like she doesn't trust me. Like I'm not being a good partner. He paused. But intellectually, I know she's establishing healthy boundaries. That letting her handle her own problems is respecting her autonomy. And Maya, what happens when Dominic backs off like this? I feel guilty for refusing help I actually need. Then I feel angry that I feel guilty. Then I remember that accepting every offer makes me dependent and I shut down. Maya sighed. It's exhausting being this damaged. You're not damaged. You're self-aware. There's a difference. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Here's what I'm seeing. You've both made significant progress. Dominic catches himself before controlling situations. Maya asks about intentions instead of assuming manipulation. But you're both still operating from fear. Dominic fears powerlessness. Maya fears abandonment. Until you address those root fears, you'll keep having surface-level conflicts. So what do? Dominic asked. You practice vulnerability. Real vulnerability. Not I'm trying so hard vulnerability. The kind that makes you genuinely uncomfortable. Dr. Chen looked at Dominic. Tell Maya something you're afraid of that has nothing to do with losing her. Dominic shifted uncomfortably. That's not... Do it. He took a breath. I'm afraid I'm turning into my father. That all this control I've spent years building is just me becoming the thing I hated most. That no amount of therapy or self-awareness will change the fundamental fact that I'm wired wrong. The rawness in his voice made Maya's chest tight. Dominic, your turn, Dr. Chen interrupted, looking at Maya. Tell him something you're afraid of that has nothing to do with him leaving. Maya wanted to deflect. Instead, she forced herself to be honest. I'm afraid I'm unlovable. That my father left because something in me wasn't worth staying for. That even though Dominic says he loves me, eventually he'll see whatever my father saw and leave too. And it'll prove that I was right to never trust anyone. The silence that followed was heavy. Dr. Chen let it sit for a moment before speaking. Those are your real fears. Not the surface ones about control or abandonment. The deep ones about being fundamentally broken. And here's what you both need to understand. Those fears won't go away. They'll always be there. But you can choose to not let them run your relationship. How? Maya asked. By acknowledging them when they show up. Dominic, when you want to control a situation, pause and ask yourself, is this about the situation or about feeling powerless? Maya, when you assume Dominic will leave, ask yourself, is this about his behavior or about your father? Name the fear. Take away its power. After therapy, they walked through Central Park in unusual silence. The late autumn air was crisp, leaves crunching under their feet. Dominic's hand found Maya's, and she didn't pull away. "I meant what I said," he finally offered. "About being afraid I'm like my father. You're not. Your father never questioned himself, never went to therapy, never worked to be better." Maya squeezed his hand. "The fact that you're afraid of becoming him proves you won't." "Maya, I need to tell you something." "About the restaurant." Her stomach dropped. "What about it?" "I'm transferring full ownership to you. No payment required. It's yours free and clear." Before she could protest, Dominic continued, "Not as a gift, as restitution. I bought it for the wrong reasons. Manipulated you into a position where you felt trapped. This is me correcting that mistake. I can't accept an entire restaurant as a gift. It's not a gift. It's me removing the power imbalance I created. You can't trust me to not hold that over you as long as I own your workplace." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "Maya, I want you to have choices." "Real choices. Including the choice to leave me if I become someone you can't love." "You can't have that choice if I control your livelihood." Maya stared at him. "You're serious, completely. My lawyers are drawing up the papers. By next week, you'll own the Harbor Bistro free and clear. No strings, no conditions. Just you being a successful business owner who doesn't need me for anything. Dominic, that's a multi-million-dollar asset that I bought to manipulate you. Consider it an expensive lesson in not being a controlling asshole." His smile was sad. "I need you to have the power to walk away, Maya. Need to know that if you stay, it's because you want to, not because you're financially trapped." Maya felt tears burning. "What if I take the restaurant and leave anyway? What if you're making yourself vulnerable and I use it against you? Then I deserve it for being manipulative in the first place. But I don't think you will. You're not cruel. You're careful. There's a difference. This is insane. This is me proving I can give up control, can trust you with power, can be the person you need me to be instead of the person my damage wants me to be." Dominic cupped her face. "I love you. Not because I own your workplace or control your circumstances. Because you're remarkable and challenging and you make me want to be better than I am. That doesn't change based on who owns what." Maya kissed him, tasting salt from tears she didn't realize she was crying. "I love you too. Even though you're exhausting and complicated and probably always will be. I'll take probably always exhausting. It's better than definitely always controlling." They stood in Central Park, holding each other while joggers and tourists flowed around them. Maya thought about trust and vulnerability and choosing to believe in someone despite every reason not to. About how Dominic was actively dismantling his own power to prove he could be trusted with hers. "I'm keeping the restaurant," she said against his chest. "Not because I'm planning to leave. Because you're right. I need to know I can support myself regardless of what happens with us. That's not about not trusting you. It's about trusting myself." "Good. You should always be able to trust yourself first. But I'm buying you out partially. Over time, with a payment plan. I'm not taking a multi-million-dollar asset for free just because you feel guilty, Maya. No, this is me establishing that we're equals, partners. You don't get to be the magnanimous benefactor making grand gestures. We figure out what's fair and we do that." "Agreed?" Dominic smiled. "You're so stubborn. You're so controlling. We're even. Deal. We'll work out terms that make you comfortable. Partners." They walked back to Dominic's car, hands intertwined. Maya felt something shift inside her chest. Not fear releasing entirely, that would take years, but the first real sense that maybe, possibly, this could actually work. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Is this Maya Rodriguez?" A woman's voice, professional and cold. "Speaking." "This is Jennifer Walsh from the New York Post. I'm running a story about Dominic Kane's romantic history, and your name came up. Care to comment on accusations that Mr. Kane bought your workplace to coerce you into a relationship?" Maya's blood ran cold. "What accusations? Who's making accusations?" "Vanessa Whitmore, Mr. Kane's ex-fiancée. She claims he has a pattern of using his wealth to manipulate women." "That you're just his latest victim. Would you like to respond?" Maya looked at Dominic, who'd gone very still beside her. "No comment." "And don't call this number again." She hung up, her hands shaking. "Vanessa's talking to the press, claiming you manipulated me. That I'm your victim." Dominic's expression was thunderous. "I'll handle this." "No, we'll handle this. Together." Maya squeezed his hand. "I'm not your victim. I'm your partner. And Vanessa doesn't get to rewrite our story just because she's bitter about your past. She's going to make things difficult. Dig into your background. Try to find anything that makes you look weak or complicit. Letter. I have nothing to hide. I was a waitress who stood up to a rude customer, who got offered an opportunity, who navigated a complicated situation with someone equally complicated. That's not a scandal. That's just life. Maya, you don't understand how vicious the press can be, how they'll twist everything to make it sensational. Then we tell the truth first, on our terms. We don't hide or apologize or act like we did something wrong. Maya's voice was firm. We own our story. The weird beginning. The therapy. The work we've done. All of it. Because the truth is more interesting than whatever Vanessa's trying to sell. Dominic stared at her. You want to go public? About everything? I want to stop hiding. Stop acting like our relationship is something to be ashamed of. Yes, you bought my workplace. Yes, that was controlling and weird. But you also recognized it was wrong and worked to fix it. That's growth. That's worth defending. The media will crucify us. Let them try. I'm done being afraid of what people think. Maya looked at him directly. Are you with me? Or are you going to try to control this situation too? It was a test. They both knew it. Dominic could revert to type, use his money and influence to bury the story, control the narrative. Or he could trust Maya's instincts and let her handle it her way. He took a breath. What do you need from me? Trust, support, and maybe access to your publicist so we do this properly. Done. All of it. Dominic pulled her close. Though for the record, watching you take charge is terrifying and incredibly attractive. Get used to it. I'm done being the passive victim in our story. Maya smiled against his chest. Besides, someone needs to manage your image. You're terrible at public relations. I'm terrible at a lot of things. Good thing I found someone who's good at calling me out. They stood in the parking lot, holding each other while planning how to face down Vanessa's accusations. Maya felt something solidify inside her. Not fearlessness, she was still terrified, but determination. She'd spent years being afraid of abandonment, of depending on anyone, of being hurt. Now she was choosing something different. Choosing to fight for what she wanted. Choosing to trust that even if Dominic's damage and her damage collided sometimes, they could work through it together. I love you, she said suddenly. I know. You told me an hour ago. I'm telling you again. Because tomorrow the press is going to try to make our relationship look sordid and wrong. And I want you to remember that whatever they say, I chose this. I chose you. Not because you bought my workplace or manipulated me, but because you're working every day to be someone worth choosing. Dominic's eyes were bright. I love you too. And tomorrow, we're going to show Vanessa and everyone else that broken people can build something beautiful if they're willing to do the work. Even when that work is exhausting. Especially when it's exhausting. That's how you know it's real. The New York Post article hit the internet at 6 a.m. and by 7 a.m., Maya's phone was exploding with texts, calls, and notifications. The headline was exactly as sensational as expected. Billionaire's control game. Former waitress reveals pattern of workplace manipulation. Except Maya hadn't revealed anything. Vanessa had done all the talking, painting a picture of Dominic as a predatory billionaire who targeted vulnerable women and used his wealth to trap them. The article featured interviews with two of Dominic's exes, both claiming he'd been controlling and manipulative during their relationships. This is bad, Dominic said, pacing his penthouse while reading the article for the third time. They're making me sound like a monster, making you sound like a victim with Stockholm Syndrome. Then we changed the narrative. Maya was surprisingly calm, sitting at his dining table with her laptop open. I've been drafting our response. Want to hear it? You wrote a response when? At 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. I figured Vanessa would go nuclear, so I prepared. Maya pulled up the document. It's a joint statement, honest, no spin. Just our story and our words. She read it aloud. The statement acknowledged Dominic's controlling tendencies, admitted the restaurant purchase had been manipulative, and detailed the work they'd done in therapy to build a healthier relationship. It was raw, vulnerable, and completely transparent about their damage and their determination to be better. You want to publish this? Dominic asked when she finished. You want to tell the world I bought your workplace to manipulate you? I want to tell the world the truth. That you did something controlling, recognized it was wrong, and worked to fix it. That I had the agency to call you out and the courage to give you a chance to be better. That relationships aren't fairy tales. They're messy and complicated, and sometimes they start from terrible places and become something beautiful. Maya. This makes me look terrible. It makes you look human, flawed, real. Which is better than trying to pretend you're perfect and having Vanessa prove otherwise. Maya stood, crossing to him. Dominic, we can try to control this story. Hire expensive PR firms. Bury Vanessa's accusations under legal threats. But that's your old pattern. Control through power and money. Or we can be vulnerable. Tell the truth. Trust that people will see the work we've done and respect it. What if they don't? What if this destroys my reputation? My business? Then we deal with it together. But hiding isn't working. Vanessa will just keep digging until she finds something worse to leak. We take away her power by owning our story first. Dominic looked at the statement, then at Maya. You're really not afraid of this going public? Of everyone knowing the complicated truth? I'm terrified. But I'm more afraid of living our lives trying to hide who we are and how we got here. Maya took his hand. Besides, I have my own business now. Successful restaurant, loyal staff, good reputation in the community. I'm not dependent on you for my livelihood anymore. I can weather whatever storm this creates. When did you get so brave? I've always been brave. I just use my bravery for survival instead of for living. You taught me the difference. Dominic pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. Okay, we publish your statement. Full transparency. Let Vanessa do her worst. They released the statement at noon through Dominic's publicist, along with a request that media respect their privacy as they continued working on their relationship. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with opinions. Some people praised their honesty. Others accused Maya of defending her abuser. Think pieces appeared within hours, debating whether wealthy men could ever truly change or if Maya was deluding herself. This is exhausting, Maya said that evening, scrolling through her mentions. Half these people think I'm brave, half think I'm stupid. Nobody seems to consider that maybe I'm just a person trying to figure out a complicated situation. Welcome to being in the public eye. Everyone has an opinion and none of them know the actual people involved. Dominic took her phone, setting it aside. Stop reading the comments. They don't matter. They feel like they matter. They don't. What matters is us. Our work, our progress. The fact that we're choosing each other despite how hard it is. He pulled her onto the couch beside him. Maya, I need to tell you something. About Vanessa. What about her? She's not entirely wrong about me. During our relationship, I was controlling. I did use money to manipulate situations. I monitored her location, questioned her choices, made her feel like she couldn't function without me. Dominic's voice was heavy with guilt. I was everything she's accusing me of being. Not maliciously, but the impact was the same. You've changed? Have I? Or am I just better at hiding it? Better at recognizing when I'm being controlling so I can stop myself before you notice? He looked at her directly. Maya, I'm terrified that all this work, all this therapy, is just me learning to be a more sophisticated manipulator. Is that what you think you're doing? Manipulating me more cleverly? I don't know. How would I even know? My instincts are so twisted that I can't tell the difference between being helpful and being controlling anymore. Maya sat up, forcing Dominic to look at her. You know how I know you're not manipulating me? Because you just told me you're afraid you are. A real manipulator wouldn't express that doubt. They'd be confident in their control. You're questioning yourself constantly. That's not manipulation. That's someone genuinely trying to be better and terrified of failing. What if I fail anyway? What if, despite all this work, I still end up hurting you the way I hurt Vanessa? Then we deal with it, together. But Dominic, you're not the same person you were with Vanessa. You're in therapy. You're actively fighting your worst impulses. You're giving up control instead of accumulating it. That's not nothing. That's everything. I don't deserve you. Stop putting me on a pedestal. That's just another form of control, making me into something perfect you have to live up to. Maya squeezed his hand. I'm not perfect. I'm damaged and scared and still working through my own issues. We're two broken people trying to build something healthy. That's the reality. Not some fairy tale where you're the reformed villain and I'm the saint who saved you. Dominic laughed, the sound wet and rough. When did you get so wise? 3 months of therapy. Highly recommend it. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dominic's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It's my lawyer. I should take this. Maya nodded, moving to give him privacy. But Dominic gestured for her to stay, putting the phone on speaker. Thomas, what's wrong? Vanessa filed a defamation suit. Claims your statement contains false accusations about her motives and character. She's seeking damages and a public retraction. The lawyer's voice was grim. She's also threatening to depose Maya, put her under oath, and ask very uncomfortable questions about your relationship. Can she do that? If the suit proceeds, yes. Maya would have to testify about the nature of your relationship, any coercion she experienced, financial arrangements, all of it. Under oath with Vanessa's lawyers asking the questions. Maya felt her stomach drop. They'd try to make me look like I was manipulated or complicit. They'd try to make you look however serves Vanessa's case. That's how litigation works. So what do? Dominic asked. You could settle. Pay her off. Make this go away quietly. No. Maya's voice was firm. We're not paying her to stop telling lies about us. That's just giving her power. Maya, you don't understand what depositions are like. They'll tear apart every conversation you've had with Dominic, every text message, every moment of doubt. They'll use your own words against you to prove you were manipulated. Let them. I have nothing to hide. Yes, Dominic bought my workplace. Yes, that was controlling. Yes, I have doubts sometimes. All of that is true. But so is the fact that I chose to stay, chose to work through it, that I'm here by choice, not coercion. If Vanessa wants to put me under oath to prove that, I'm ready. Maya, Dominic started. You don't have to do this. I can settle, end this before it gets ugly, and teach me that running away is how we handle problems. That using money to avoid consequences is acceptable? Maya shook her head. No, we do this right. We fight back. We prove that our relationship is real, and that Vanessa is lying because she's bitter, not because she's concerned about my welfare. Thomas was quiet on the other end. Then, you're sure about this? Once we fight, there's no going back. Everything becomes public record, I'm sure. File whatever response you need to file. I'll testify if necessary, and I'll tell the truth, which is that Dominic Kane is a complicated, damaged man who's working hard to be better, that I love him despite and because of that complexity, that Vanessa doesn't get to rewrite our story just because she couldn't make her relationship with him work. After Thomas hung up, Dominic pulled Maya into his arms. You don't have to do this. Fight for me. Risk your reputation. I'm not fighting for you. I'm fighting for us. For the truth. For the right to have our complicated, messy relationship without Vanessa's interference. Maya looked up at him. Besides, someone has to protect you from yourself. You'd settle just to protect me. That's sweet, but also your control issues talking. You don't get to decide what I can handle. Fair point. Dominic kissed her forehead. Have I mentioned you're terrifying when you're determined? You have. Multiple times. I'm choosing to take it as a compliment. The next 3 months were a blur of legal proceedings, media attention, and public scrutiny. Maya gave her deposition with Dominic's lawyers present, answering every invasive question with brutal honesty. Yes, she'd had doubts. Yes, Dominic had been controlling initially. Yes, she'd considered leaving multiple times. But no, she wasn't coerced. No, she wasn't manipulated into staying. No, she wasn't a victim. The case eventually settled when Vanessa's lawyers realized they couldn't prove defamation when everything in Dominic and Maya's statement was factually accurate. Vanessa withdrew her suit in exchange for both parties agreeing not to discuss each other publicly. It wasn't the vindication Maya wanted, but it was closure. 6 months after the New York Post article, Maya stood in the Harbor Bistro during the evening rush, watching her staff move with efficient grace. The restaurant had survived the scandal. Thrived, actually. Apparently, people were curious about the place at the center of the controversy. Business was up 40%. They'd had to hire more staff. Dominic appeared during a quiet moment, sliding onto a bar stool. Your 4 o'clock is here. My 4 o'clock. Maya glanced at her phone. She didn't have any appointments. Check the private dining room. Confused, Maya headed to the back. The private dining room was decorated with candles and flowers, a single table set for 2, and in the center of the table sat a small velvet box. Dominic, what did you do? He appeared in the doorway, looking nervous in a way she'd never seen. I'm proposing. Or trying to. I'm not very good at this. We talked about grand gestures, about you controlling situations. I know. That's why I'm asking permission first. He gestured to the room. I wanted to do something romantic. But if this feels manipulative or controlling, we can go back to the bar and I'll propose there. Or not at all if you're not ready. I'm literally asking you to tell me what you want. Maya felt tears burning. You set this up, but you're giving me control of how it happens? I'm trying. Is it working? She crossed to him, taking his face in her hands. It's perfect. You're perfect. Well, not perfect. You're still exhausting and controlling sometimes. But you're trying. That's all I need. So is that a yes to the room or to the proposal? Both, you idiot. I'm saying yes to both. Dominic's smile was incandescent. He led her to the table, then dropped to one knee. Maya Rodriguez, you're the most terrifying, brilliant, stubborn person I've ever met. You call me out when I'm being controlling. You fight for us when I want to run away and fix things with money. You make me want to be better than my damage. Will you marry me and continue being my conscience and my partner for however long you'll tolerate me? Maya laughed through tears. That's the worst proposal ever. I know. I'm terrible at this. Is it still a yes? It's a yes. Enthusiastically yes. Even though you're a disaster and I'm a disaster and we're probably going to drive each other crazy. Crazy together is better than sane. Apart. There's that catchphrase again. Dominic slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her with enough emotion to make Maya's knees weak. Around them, the private dining room felt like their own world. Safe, honest, built on therapy and hard work, and choosing each other despite how difficult it was. I love you, Maya whispered against his mouth. I love you too. Even though you're exhausting and challenge everything I do. Especially because I do that. Especially because you do that. They stood in their little bubble of happiness until Luis knocked on the door. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Food critic just walked in unannounced. Maya pulled away from Dominic, immediately shifting into manager mode. Which critic? What table? Table 7. And Maya? She's from the Times. This could be big. Maya looked at Dominic, who held up his hands. Your restaurant, your call. I'm just here for moral support and to occasionally be told I'm being controlling. You're being supportive, which is nice. Come on, let's make sure this critic gets the best meal of her life. They walked out together, partners in business and life. Maya knew there would be more challenges. More moments where Dominic's control issues surfaced or her abandonment fears flared. More therapy sessions and uncomfortable conversations and hard work. But looking at the restaurant they'd built together, at the life they were creating, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, genuine hope that broken people could build something beautiful if they were willing to do the work. And she was willing. More than willing, she was ready.